out to the left, staying right as late as possible, watching for that curb. Once you spot it on the corner exit, we're gonna go right into the wall. Let me try that again. Alright, hello, welcome back. Emerson here with another Trax VR lap guide for you. This time we are at, well, what it's called in R Factor 2 isn't what it really is. It's called Mountain Peak Speedway in R Factor 2. But what this is in reality is Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're not using the Super Speedway, of course. We're going to be using, I hate this term, but the Roval. So the road course layouts. We're going to have a good portion of the oval, but we're also going to be racing on the infield as well. Right after the start-finish line, it's going to dart into the infield of the track, and we're going to be exiting the infield just before what would be turn 1 of the oval, and we actually use basically all the corners of the oval layout as well. So anyways, we're going to come out of the pit garage here as you would in your practice session and your qualifying session. Your marshal is going to tell you which way to go. You're going to follow this yellow lane all the way around this pit garage. And you're going to exit into the pit road area. Don't cut these cones. You're going to come into the pit lane and you're going to hang a hard left. Down pit road. And the pit exit, the pit exit line is not immediately obvious. It's not this one. Do not turn off your pit limiter. Sorry, I stole my engine. Let's get that started again. Do not disable your pit limiter at this line. I made that mistake my first try, and I got a pit lane speeding penalty immediately. Which line does work, however, is this first yellow line right here. This is the line you want to use to turn off your pit speed limiter once your car is fully across that line, of course, right about here. And then the blend line is very short. I still don't want you crossing it, especially because of the high speed you're going to be carrying. Turning my head away from the microphone, sorry. The high speed you're going to be carrying off the oval into the first corner here. We'll go over that in a minute here. But the pit exit, you're going to basically be right at the very end here. When you're making your way onto the track here, right at the very end of this white line before you join the track and continue on. Okay, before we start a flying lap, I'm going to do a guided lap here as usual. We are right at the very tail end of the lap, out of the final corner of the oval. We're nice and close to the right-hand side wall. If you look ahead there is the flag station. That's where the start-finish line is. You're basically going to try and draw as straight of a line as possible from this point to that flag station. Charlotte is a tri-oval, so you're going to try and basically take off the peak of that tri-oval for the setup into turn 1. So we're going to accelerate away from here down towards the peak of the tri-oval, just skimming off the peak, aiming for that flag station. Now you'll notice the brake markers here are not your typical brake markers. They are instead pylons that have been affixed to the fence on the right hand side. The first one is a 1, the second one's a 2, the third one's a 3. You're going to be braking at the 2 cones on the right hand side. They're actually pointing the direction you want to be heading at this point. You're going to be coming at these cones at full speed in 6th gear. You're going to brake just as your nose reaches these cones. Nose of your car, not your nose. Braking down to 3rd gear. As you come off of the banking of the oval onto the flatter part on the apron and into the infield, you'll notice your car bumps a little bit, maybe bottoms out a little bit, and it's going to want to shift to the right ever so slightly. It's a little bit nerve-wracking at first, especially with the high rate of speed you're coming at, but it's very predictable. It tends to do the same thing every single lap. You're going to be coming around through here in 3rd gear, still a very high rate of speed. You're going to come all the way out to the right. You can get pretty close to the tires. That little bump coming off of the banking is going to send you out this direction pretty naturally, but obviously you don't want to get too close to those tires because that's going to ruin your day. Watching for cars coming out of the pit lane. Full throttle out of turn 1. You're going to get all the way up to 5th gear through here. Full throttle. It's going to be very inviting to come all the way out to the right-hand side to that white line. I don't think it's too bad of a thing to do that, but I found it to be ever so slightly better to be a bit more about here, a little bit more central, and you're going to make your way back to the left to set yourself up for the next couple corners. Basically, as soon as you're at the left, you're going to break down from 5th gear. You're only going to be in 5th gear briefly, down to about 3rd gear into this corner. You can't see your corner exit at this point, nor your apex, but you're going to want to be apexing through this wall nice and close, maybe right about this Marshall station here is actually not too bad of a spot to apex. Out to the curbing on the left, still in 3rd gear. Coming around again, 2nd corner, again apexing around this Marshall station, halfway around the corner. Going to come back out to the left, out to this curbing, then back to the right, late apex on this corner here. There's this curbing on the right hand side. You can use the end of this curbing as a reference point. Braking right at the end of the curbing is maybe a little bit too early. Maybe save it for a half a car length or a car length later. Braking down to 2nd gear. Another late apex through this corner here. Very late apex, in fact. Now this curbing here, if you bounce over the curbing a little bit too aggressively, I notice the car tends to oscillate and bounce a little bit extra. Flat out, coming out of that corner, maybe a little bit of throttle modulation as if needed. Touching that curb on the right, back out to the curbing on the left. You're going to be still flat out through here, getting to a fairly high rate of speed, and you're going to be decelerating through here. This corner that we're coming up to now and the corner right after feel a little bit awkward and a little slow after the corner you just came through. But the way you set up these corners is very critical to the way you carry your speed onto the oval, which is basically the second half of the lap. So really try to be patient on your throttle, try and get good exits, and make your way onto the oval nice and cleanly. Now, the key to getting the best entry onto the oval, I'm actually going to come to a stop here and stand up in the car. Go a little further. About here, and this is actually about the turn-in point. I don't even have to stand up very much, so I can just barely see it a little bit. If you're sitting a little lower in the seat, you might not be able to see it till a little later. But if I just stand up out of the halo, you can spot the exit curb on the right-hand side, basically just to the left of that tower where the position markers are. That there is where you want to be aiming. So you want to spot that as soon as possible. Let me get my engine restarted here. So you're going to be turning in before you can even see it, but now you're at this point here, you're kind of coming up over a crest, which does try to cause the car to have a bit of understeer, which is a little frustrating. But getting a nice late apex out of this corner, all the way out to the curbing on the right-hand side, getting a nice fast exit onto the oval. I'm going to make one more quick note here. As you come onto the oval, there's no track limits to define the inside line of the track. If you do use too much of that apron, turn left too early essentially, you will get a corner cut warning. I'll be lenient with you guys in practice, I want you guys to kind of feel it out, but I will be enforcing them in the race. Keep that in mind. However, the corner exit really dictates their speed coming onto here, and if you get good speed, the natural flowing line, you won't even have to worry about the track limits there. It'll just naturally flow onto the onto the oval without any track warnings. We're going to start accelerating up to race speed here for the rest of this lap. Full throttle all the way around the oval. You're going to get all the way out to the right-hand side. To the right-hand side of this white dotted line for the right lane. At the end of that lane, that's where we're going to start turning into the next corner of the oval. Down low again, and then start our flying lap. So, like I was saying at the start, you're going to get yourself all the way out to the right-hand side to set yourself up and draw a straight line across the peak of the tri-oval, over the start-finish line, braking at the second set of cones, down to 3rd gear, trail braking off, all the way out to the right-hand side, full throttle coming out, up to 4th gear, up to 5th gear briefly, over to the left-hand side, braking down to 3rd gear. I'm missing my apex, going to be apexing on those marshals. Out to the left, apexing at the marshals again, back to the right, braking at the end of the curbing, down to 2nd gear, nice late apex out of here, cautious with the curb, all the way out to the left again, bringing it back to the right, decelerating through here into 3rd gear, minding your corner exits, staying right as late as possible, watching for the exit curb, accelerating out to that exit curb, full throttle onto the oval. We didn't use too much of the apron, so we didn't get a track limits violation. So we're good. Full throttle all the way around here. Back out to the right-hand side, staying right at this dotted line. Right until the end of the dotted line, then you start dipping back down to the inside, shortening the distance you're traveling as much as possible. Easing your car back to the right, close to the wall, straightening the line out from here to the start-finish line, and getting a 113 lap time. You will be able to get down to 111 lap time. That's what I was able to do when I was practicing. As a track representative, I would not be able to I would not be surprised to see you guys break the 110 mark, get down to the 109s even. We're going to do our in-lap here. Okay, so we're going to do 2 examples of a pit entry here. First one I'll do a little bit slower. You want to be staying on the oval banking. Also note, if you're making an overtake, you cannot use this apron down here to overtake someone. You need to stay above this white line. But also, I want you to stay above that white line on your pit entrance. However, if you are limping a broken car to pit lane, I will allow you guys to use the apron, because then you'll be out of harm's way. If the car is going at top speed around the banking, you can safely limp your car to the pit lane down below the apron if your car is heavily damaged. Anyways, you're going to be looking for this tire barrier on the left-hand side. At that point, you can dip down off of the banking. Once you're off the banking, at that point and at that point only, do not start braking up there. You can start braking down on the apron. Pit lane speed limit's a little bit slower here. You're going to slow down to 60k. Basically, as soon as you're on the brakes, you can be on the pit limiter. You're watching for this cone on the right-hand side, and then this yellow line for your limit for where you have to be below 60. And we're going to do that again at speed this time. Okay, coming into the pit lane at speed this time. Ignore my stop and go penalty, please. I messed up the previous example. Missed the hit the speed limiter button. So they're coming around, watching for that tire barrier on the left-hand side. At that point, you can get down onto the apron, on the brakes, on the pit limiter, all the way down to 60k, and safely cross the line at the correct speed limit. And that concludes our lap guide of the Charlotte Roval. Like I said, I hate the term Roval, but that's what most people refer to a track like this as. But yeah, should be an interesting race. A little bit of a change of pace for the types of tracks we've done. Practice hard when it comes to the practice session on Wednesday, and we're going to have a good race. Just this race and one more to go. Alright, talk to you later, guys.